spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. Anywhere I go, DC's coming with me. I spent my whole damn life in the city. I could go for broke, but the capital is in me.
Welcome, everyone, to District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically, a Washington Commanders podcast. I am Amit. That is KDot. This episode, we're just decided to have a little bit of fun with it. We are picking a side piece team for this upcoming NFL season. So, what's the criteria for picking that team? It's going to be a team that won 7 games or fewer last season. You get bonus points if you pick one with Super Bowl odds that are incredibly long, like over 100-1 or something like that. So KDot and I have had an opportunity to look at those teams. Just a quick rundown of them. We've got, in order of 2023 wins, let me do that real quick. You got the Carolina Panthers. You've got the Arizona Cardinals. You've got the Los Angeles Chargers. You've got the Tennessee Titans, the New York Giants, Minnesota Vikings, Chicago Bears, Atlanta Falcons, and the New York Jets. Those are going to be our options for this video. And then we got a loaded comment mailbag for you guys. But before we begin this video, if you could please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do, and Kata.
It's time. You know what time it is?
What time is it, Kata?
It's time to share this shit, guys. Let's keep it calm and mellow, you know? It's that time where you let us know that you love what it is that we do. And you let the world know that you love what it is that we do. That 1,000 subscribers, that's nice. It's cute. It's okay. But I'm not ready until we get to 1 million. 1 million. 1 million subscribers! The Divided audio art, the gospel, your commanders, know-how, know-it-all motherfuckers right here. Share this shit, guys.
Share this shit. Incredibly well said there, Kate. I can't wait to get to 1 million on this channel. It's going to be...
And we got a countdown!
Go for it. 58 days until NFL kickoff. Shout out Antonio Pierce.
Okay. Good. Cool. Got it. All right, man.
On those. I have missed one, to be fair. So it's good that you're doing that. Without further ado, why don't we go ahead and get into it? And guys, we want you to participate in this as well in the comments. Go ahead and pick yours for this upcoming season. So it's again the dead period. Training camp starts next week. Cannot wait for it. But in the meanwhile, let's have a little bit of fun, guys. Let's go ahead and look at some rosters. Let's go ahead and look at some front offices, some coaching staffs. And who do we like this upcoming season? Who's going to blow away expectations? Once again, the criteria for this, the team had to have won 7 games or fewer from the prior season. I will list them again real quick. The Panthers, the Cardinals, the Chargers, the Titans, the Giants, the Vikings, the Bears, the Falcons, and the Jets. And there are plenty of enticing teams in there. So, KDot, the floor is all yours. Go ahead. Who is your side piece team for 2024?
Oh, God. I just had to burp like crazy. I kind of held it in. I'm feeling all fuzzy. All right. Oh, whoa. Damn. All right. That caffeinated drink. I've been on this caffeinated drink with like no calories kick or like really low calories kick. I'm a huge fan of something like Celsius or whatever. Or this guy, Alani Nu. Sounds like I'm not going to go into detail. All right. So picking our side piece. Taking a little page out of A-Train's book. You know, all about side piece. So yeah, this is
right now.
It was a bit of a toughie. I mean, in all honesty, it kind of boiled down to 2 teams for me. A lot of those teams on that list, I don't give 2 shits about, and I will never give 2 shits about, right? And some of them I'm going to actively root against. Part of my season is going to be fun rooting against some of those teams, right? Like, I'm not rooting for the Jets. There's no chance of rooting for the Jets, right? You might be rooting for the Jets. We'll figure that out. I know you like problematic side pieces that you can abuse a bit. Shut up, bitch! All right.
That phone call. Anyway, go ahead.
So I had it down to 2, and I eliminated one after some careful thought. because it's a team that I root for anyway. So I don't even think it made any goddamn sense because I'm going to root for them regardless. And those are the Chargers. The Chargers are basically my AFC team. I always have a soft spot in my heart for the Chargers going all the way back as far as the league in history books. You know, that's where Joe Gibbs got to start. The Eric Coryell offense. I've always been a fan of the Chargers, plus their uniforms are sick as shit. And I like them being the bastard stepchild of Los Angeles, even though they should totally be back in San Diego. So I'm always rooting for them. So now we get to pick, all right, which team is going to be my side piece, right? Which team am I going to have a little action on? And I think if you know me well enough, you know where this is going, which is the Atlanta fucking Falcons, all right? If you followed this offseason, you know that I was a huge fan of like Dan Quinn's hiring here in Washington. But my top pick, for a lot of the same reason that Dan Quinn was one of my top picks, was Raheem Morris. Raheem Morris was really, really high on my list. Now, Michael Penix's draft pick notwithstanding, I really still like the pickup that they had as far as getting Raheem Morris. And the other part of it that I really, really loved was who they choose as offensive coordinator was another guy that was pretty high on my list, which was longtime buddy there, Sean McVay, out there in LA, along with Raheem. I love them bringing that piece over there. And as far as the team, they won 7 games last year. But if you look at them overall, I mean, the defense was ranked 11th, the offense was ranked 17th, and they were ranked 17th with Desmond fucking Ritter at quarterback.
Yeah.
No, my quarterback is there, Mr. Captain Kirk Cousins. And you know that's always going to be a good bit when Kirk is throwing them goddamn touchdowns. I'm just going to little piece of him just dies aside. You'll be able to see it. It's just melts in his chair. He can't deal with it. Oh shit!
That's actually an under dramatization of what happens to me when Kirk throws touchdowns.
It's fucking dope, man. I just don't think Arthur Smith got the best that he could out of that offense. I mean, Bijan fucking Robinson, Kyle Pitts, Drake London, they got dudes. And they still managed to have, a 17th ranked offense with fucking Desmond Ritter and our guy, Taylor Heineke, who's still there on the team, and you can root for him. So, like, it just makes all the sense in the world. That division sucks ass. The only real competition they have in that division, I think, is Baker Mayfield and Tampa Bay. And I think they have actually overperformed what I expected them to do last year. I think they'll probably regress just a bit. They seem like the team that's ascending. I don't like Carolina. Who the fuck does? And in New Orleans, nobody knows what the fuck is going on in New Orleans. Do you know what's going on in New Orleans? No, nobody knows what's going on.
Not good, because I was reading a bit about it when doing. Actually, by the way, this side piece exercise, much harder than I thought, because I decided to like dive deep into a number of these teams. It was like crazy. But anyway, please continue.
No, dude. It's so the thing is that, like, if I look at the dudes that they have in charge, as far as Zach Robinson I've mentioned and Raheem Morris, if you know there's one thing that they do in LA is get the best out of the fucking stars, right? They utilize the stars. Whether it be Todd Gurley, use his ass until he's washed up, whatever the fuck. There's too much talent on Atlanta's team for these guys not to have learned from Sean McVay on how it is to properly utilize them, right? And then if you're also looking from the quarterback play, to me, going from Desmond Ritter to Kirk Cousins is such a fucking huge leap, especially considering if you look at the offensive line in Atlanta, which was scarily underrated, they were ranked the 3rd best pass blocking unit in the entire NFL.
Wow.
It only gets better, baby. It only gets better. I look at that Atlanta team and I'm like, I'm super, super excited. I just think that they've spent the last few years kind of being that pick that everybody's kind of like, man, you see the talent on the roster? They seem pretty legit. But they never had the quarterback figured out. And even though Kirk's coming off the Achilles tear, and if you want to go back in the history books about quarterbacks coming off the Achilles tear, there are a few guys that you can name, but they go so far back in history. Modern technology and medicine is so much different than it was back then. But I'm just saying, overall, I think this team is scarily good to lose in the first round of playoffs.
Okay, to lose in the first round of the playoffs, fair enough. Okay, there's something we could probably both agree on. I like the pick. I called out the pick just behind the curtain for a moment because I know KDot loves his Falcons, especially Kyle Pitts, and Kirk Cousins over there now too.
If you didn't call it out, it would have been the Chargers. I literally didn't think of it.
Yeah, I was like, it's got to be one of the two. The man loves Harbaugh. The man loves Joe Hortiz. Like, or it's going to be the Falcons who he keeps picking over and over. But you got to respect the pick. I see nothing wrong with choosing the Atlanta Falcons because when I was thinking about the Falcons, I was like, okay, if Kirk goes down, we did all those quarterback previews heading into the draft. And for me, Michael Penix ranked 3rd in terms of just how NFL ready he is. So if Kirk got off to a slow start or, the Achilles isn't quite right yet, I have a lot of faith in Michael Penix to be able to deliver pretty quickly. So it's a really nice safety security blanket to have. And again, you can't be mad at a Sean McVay tree offensive coordinator. Raheem Morris, to your point, throughout the entire offseason, KDot, very well connected in the league. Talk about getting a second chance. Got that with Dan Quinn over here. So hard to find any disagreements on my end. I'm curious to see what the defense looks like.
It's the right pick.
It's a good pick. It's a good pick.
It's the
Now,
right one.
I could not copy you. Also, Kirk Cousins on the team, so I wasn't going to, just to be 100% clear. Right. I couldn't be like, yeah, my side piece team is going to be the guy I didn't want us to re-sign this entire time. Yeah, go ahead and flame me in the comments if you want to. I thought Kirk wasn't the guy. I think he's proven it. Congrats to him for making so much money over the course of his career. It's been great.
Jesus.
So I go through this, and KDot, you know me.
Mm-hmm.
I like to teeter on the edge of uncertainty. Teeter on the edge of just getting as big of a high as possible.
I know you like your highs.
A-Train loves his highs. And so I'm looking at these
highs. A-Train story.
Maybe do an episode on that. It's just going to be therapy on YouTube. Something's cooking in Charlotte. Something is cooking in Charlotte. Listen.
You couldn't help but pick Dan Snyder again.
For the 2024. That's why I was smiling when you're like, who the fuck would pick Carolina? My side piece team for the 2024 NFL season, yes, is the 2-15 Carolina Panthers from last season. And I'm going to now go ahead and explain why. Because once again, KDot, I did some deep dives on all these teams. Initially, I was hoping it would be the Cardinals. It's not going to be the Cardinals because I'm not sure where Jonathan Gannon's going to be after 6 games. 5 of their first 6 games for the Cardinals at Buffalo, Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions, at the 49ers, at the Packers. Okay, the 6th game, it's us. And then after that, they got the Chargers. They go to Miami. They got Chicago, depending on what you feel about them, and the Jets. Like, that is such a brutal start to the season. I don't know that they're still there after that. Can't have that be my side piece team. I don't want to start the season with a heart attack. So I'm looking around at these teams. Chargers, okay. Harbaugh, sexy pick. You know, we're going to run the ball. We're going to win the trenches. It's great. It's awesome. Probably safe, to be honest. But that's not how I live, baby. And the Titans, I'm not a Will Levis guy. Giants, although Hard Knocks is incredible. Can't wait for you to watch that so we can talk about it. The front office Hard Knocks is awesome. Vikings, come on, man. JJ McCarthy, I'm not there. The Bears, Caleb Williams had him ranked 4. Yeah, flame me again in the comments. That's fine. We got Kirk Cousins. And no, I don't know. Where's Aaron Rodgers? I have no idea where Aaron Rodgers is anymore.
Hang on. You got to stop. There's no way you can't shit on the rest of these teams and then pick Carolina.
Because
just get to Carolina.
Okay. You're right. The definition of a tease. Okay, cool. So,
fucking Democratic Party. We've got no agenda.
This is why you can't do anybody else.
It's like, no, just stop.
So it's Joe. So, all right, fine. You're right. I'm sorry. If you're picking Carolina, you have to discredit everybody else first. It's part of the pitch. All right, listen. Okay, but I actually do have solid reasoning here. Okay. So the Carolina Panthers, of course, 2-15. They trade up. Everyone thinks they're taking CJ Stroud. At least the coaching staff does. They end up taking Bryce Young, and we've seen how that looks. I will say this. I think Bryce Young showed a good amount of promise last season. So what happens this offseason? They pick up Dave Canales. You look at the Tampa ranks, it's like, okay, middle of the pack, but you look at Dave Canales specifically, and he helped revive not 1, but 2 careers, right? So there's Geno Smith in Seattle. You know, they wrote me off. I didn't write back. Amazing line. Then he goes to Tampa Bay and Baker Mayfield all of a sudden. Now he gets paid this offseason. You see the Baker Mayfield that was round 1, pick 1. They get to the divisional round. Brad Idzik is going to be the offensive coordinator over there, just 32 years old. So largely unproven, but was with Dave Canales, with Tampa, with Seattle. When I was reading about some of the struggles that the Carolina Panthers had last offseason, it was wide receivers. That's what he specializes in. They draft Xavier Legette. They trade for Deontay Johnson. Adam Thielen was averaging 10 targets a game in the first half of last season. He's 32. He doesn't have to do that anymore. So now he can just be the guy that gets 3 to 4 targets. That helps. But the biggest reason it won me over, offensive line. They have invested heavily in guard play. So Robert Hunt, 5-year, $100 million deal coming from Miami. Very good PFF ratings there. Same thing with Damian Lewis, 4 years, 53. That's going to be your left guard. So all of a sudden, the interior for a smaller guy like Bryce, now he gets protection. Now he can actually produce consistently with the head coach in charge, with the offensive coordinator helping out the skill position receivers. And the tight ends, you got Tommy Tremble, who honestly I'm not high on. And Jatavion Sanders, very athletic, but he's a rookie. But the skill position people for me I'm very happy with. Jonathan Brooks is going to be a second half of season star. Pick him up in fantasy, by the way. He was the first running back taken in the NFL draft. KDot, the defense is going to be surprisingly fun. Ejiro Evero maybe should already be a head coach. Isn't. But wherever he goes, he does amazing things. LA Rams ends up winning a Super Bowl as the pass game coordinator, secondaries coach. Goes to Denver. A lot of turmoil with Nathaniel Hackett. He is offered the interim coaching job. He turns it down. He goes, no, I'm going to focus on the defense. How many people just turn it down? And his dreams to be a head coach. Turns it down. Ends up having the 7th ranked defense in the NFL in Denver. Once Sean Payton's there, lay him off. One day later, Panthers pick them up. They get the 4th ranked defense last season, despite how bad they were. They lost some players. They lost Brian Burns. They lost Jeremy Chin. They lost Frankie Luvu, of course. But they also picked up guys that are familiar with his system. They picked up Ashawn Robinson, who worked with him in LA. They picked up Jordan Fuller, worked with him in LA. They picked up Josie Jewell, who worked with him in Denver. I'm telling you, the way that this is constructed with that strength of schedule, you hate the NFC South. I hate the NFC South. I don't trust Kirk Cousins. This thing's wide open, baby. Over under 5.5 wins. Let's smash that. Let's make a lot of money. Not saying anything close to a Super Bowl, but this team could sneakily win this division. That's what I'm saying. That's my side piece team for 2024 NFL season.
I don't know how fucking high you are right now. The entire time.
I have been on a lot of ibuprofen and Tylenol since the root canal Monday. But when I tell you, this team's got
anything he's saying. Your best argument would have been to come out here and just say, Xavier Legette, Xavier Legette, Xavier Legette. He's fucking awesome. Xavier Legette.
No, he actually did his hamstring earlier in the offseason, so we're looking out for that.
What I love is that you have basically just picked an evil team. I like it. I like that we now if you're a Commanders fan, if you're let's say, if you're a good person, you should be rooting actively against
Dave Tepper.
Dave Tepper and Amit over there fucking picking
I guess I miss
Snyder
Yapich. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking weird.
What is it, battered wife? Stockholm? I forgot which one it is. But
you picked the dude that we should all be actively not rooting for. So, good luck. Godspeed.
Your co-host loves drama. I don't know what to say.
I love that you talk about the defense. It's like, yeah, they lost all the guys in Washington that we're super excited for because we think they're going to change the defense. But here are these other motherfuckers that they just picked up.
Because I do believe so I do think Ejiro Evero is actually a really legitimate defensive coordinator. And I don't need them to be top 5. I don't think they will be. But if they're middle of the pack, I do have a lot of faith in the offense to be able to have a good season. Okay. So if they're able to do that with even an average defense, because we've talked about that, you can produce in this league and you could produce in that division. They have the 2nd easiest strength of schedule behind your Atlanta Falcons. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I do think with an over-under of 5.5 wins and looking at it, it's not like they play 1 or 2 spectacular teams and that's it. Like this is a lot of their games are truly winnable. It's Bryce Young's 2nd year. I think he gets a whole NFL offseason. I think it helps. He's heard all the crap about CJ Stroud too. They all have. So they've dedicated all their resources to helping him succeed. They got the skill position players.
I think they allocated all the resources to try to make up for the fact that they lost their 3 best players on defense.
But they shifted it to offense, right? And they trust the defensive coordinator.
I get it.
Guys that are familiar with the system. I think that's as good a job as you can do in the offseason.
Yeah, I'm actively rooting against Carolina because of their owner.
That's
no
fair.
doubt.
Yeah.
I like Bryce Young a lot. There's no reason to root against Bryce Young. Xavier Legette, once again, every time he steps into a fucking microphone or does anything, I'm all in.
Electric.
Just he's that dude. If there's ever been a human being that was supposed to be drafted by a particular franchise, that's it. So there are certain things that are just baked in. I even like fucking Dan Morgan, their GM.
Love Dan Morgan.
Player.
Great player. Yeah.
Yeah, but fuck Dave Tepper. Like he just
we're in agreement there. This is just a side piece team. You can enjoy a crazy team like that for one season.
Look, once again, I'm not too familiar with this whole side piece thing. I know you're more familiar with the side piece thing. I know that like when it comes to side pieces, a lot of it's a lot of toxicity, probably some drug use, probably some other stuff. So I know it starts. The relationship itself starts on a rocky foot.
You're just confirming it's not what you want.
Huh?
You're just confirming it's not what you want. That's all it is.
I mean, I'm a godly man.
We'll get into that another time. You know, I've taken a lot on this pod.
I will say this. I do like the fact that this is nice. We've got two teams in the NFC South.
Yep.
Good versus evil. Everything's just baked in.
Arthur Blank a lot. Yeah.
It's baked into the very fabric of everything. This is going to make for a little this is a little side piece.
You know what's really fun is like we're going to be doing Commanders previews, and then the week the Panthers play the Falcons, we're probably going to do a little bit on that too. I thought it was a good idea to do the side piece thing. Like this is fun. I think this is fun. I'd love to see what other people in the comments have for their side piece teams. So could be a good time. Looking forward to it. Any final thoughts before we move on to a monstrous comment mailbag?
Yeah, you remember a few weeks ago, my computer was doing that thing where it wasn't picking up the USB, so it kept chiming in my ear.
Yep. Oh no,
hold on. It just did it like twice, but then it stopped.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm over here during the comment mailbag looking like I want to kill myself,
that's what that is.
No.
I see. You're just prefacing. I appreciate that. Well, why don't we go ahead and move to the comment mailbag?
Sounds good. Play it, Nick.
Comment mailbag time, motherfuckers. District divided, ain't got time for no suckers. Spread the word, get in line. OGs and new G's, it's your time. And spread the gospel, cause this shit is divine.
Yeah.
All right, dude. Awesome work on that. Shout out AI Nikki for that. We are going to begin with the most recent video. We'll work backwards from that. So this one is on Brandon Ayuk posting on TikTok.
I'm terrified of this.
You know what?
I spent the entire pod asking people to come for me.
Really?
I felt like the whole Jaden Daniels piece of it, I did feel as though I was being a little mean to Jaden. I think that
because okay, but let's get to the comments. And I actually think you got a lot more love than you thought. Okay.
Yeah, but if it's the pessimistics, remember, I didn't want that.
Oh, you know that's what it is. So why don't we go ahead and get into it?
I have never been more terrified of a comment mailbag.
You were the leader of the pessimists.
No, fuck that.
Yeah, I think you are actually. The more I think about it,
fuck that.
There are optimists over here that happen.
Oh, you're the one over here missing owners. Snyder and shit.
Well, listen again. That take's brought to you by ibuprofen and Tylenol and a root canal that occurred on Monday. Okay.
Yeah, just lying about drugs.
Let's just move on to the comment mailbag where, again, we're going to begin with Garage Gym Life Media. Shout out Garage Gym Life Media. He's commented numerous times. Congrats on hitting 1K. I keep meaning to share your links in the Cherry Squad Discord. I apologize, and I'm simultaneously sharing it and hazing myself. Brandon Ayuk can keep his drama on the West Coast where it belongs. As far as Jaden, this is his second incident, not first, second incident, okay? The first was him making a bet about becoming Rookie of the Year that would have violated league policy and potentially led to a suspension and or fine. Now he's divulging confidential information to opposing players and showing that he's more loyal to Ayuk than his teammates. KDot, your reaction?
So this is what I was afraid of.
There you go.
I will say this. I did have a conversation with somebody after we did the pod. And they referred me to listen to a few other people about this particular topic. And I will say that my opinion has changed a little bit on at least one aspect of it. And it's probably more in line with what it is. You were kind of there. So I would say I'm more pivoting. it looks as though whatever it is that was shown in that particular screenshot is not that big a deal. It's not true playbook stuff. It's not true. Hey, this still does not mean I like anything about the look of it all. It still does not mean that I think that there's some issues as far as prioritization. But my biggest takeaway beyond any of this is the big word that I've used this entire offseason, that the organization has used this entire offseason, is communication. And this to me is not what I want to see from a communication standpoint. But the aspect of like he gave away state secrets or something, I'm relenting on that.
Yeah. So where I stand on it is I understood the excitement of a rookie quarterback that has a best friend in a different place, top 10, 12 wide receiver. He knows what he's capable of and vice versa. Should he have shown him? I think as a professional, no. But given the youth, and that's where I say it's like, okay, you did it. It is what it is. Moving forward, that can't be a thing, and that's fine. So we'll see.
I'll even go a little further, just a little bit. It might actively be a good thing that he showed him.
Okay, go ahead.
So if you're talking about that early in the OTAs, that early, if that's what the screenshot and the date looks like, if you have somebody that can communicate to you what to look for, or is a pro and can give you feedback on stuff, if there's any tape to show someone to potentially learn more, that would be it.
Yeah. No,
So,
that's true.
yeah.
It's not mid-season. It's not
Right.
Brandon, what do I do here? Although if you show game film, I think that's maybe okay at that point. Just because
No, if you like
they
Chris
have that.
Cooley dick out, here's a playbook. With,
Right.
Like, Ayuk's next to you.
Now, I will say this, and I will push back on one thing, Garage Gym Life Media, which is this being his second incident, because he does go on, what's it called? All Facts, No Break. I can't remember the name of Keyshawn's podcast, but it was fun. It was a very entertaining listen. And he was asked about the Rookie of the Year bet by Keyshawn's son. And he said, hey, the moment we found out it was against league policy, we killed it. So, like, they didn't. Once again, it's rookie naivety. Like, you'd prefer they don't have that naivety. They did, but they addressed it accordingly and said, okay, no, we killed it as soon as we found out that was against league policy. So I wouldn't call this his second incident because they immediately figured out what they needed to do and moved on from it. I think it was that simple. Let's go over to Allison Lombard. Shout out with, I think, let's see. These days I tend to scroll up to make sure I see how many comments there are because there are a couple. So we'll go back to back on it. Okay.
Right.
Shouting out Allison New G Lombard over here. I appreciate your objectivity. It's why I watch. That's the first one. And the second one, I agree with KDot. What Daniels did was dumb. Those are the two comments from Allison. Would you like to react, KDot?
I agree.
You agree with her agreeing with you?
I agree with her, sort of. Because yeah.
Because your stance did change a little. Just to say.
Here's the thing. Depending on how these the rest of these comments go, me and you had a conversation post our last pod.
Yeah.
And I'll let people know more about that conversation depending on how the rest of these comments go.
Yeah.
But and I will also say objectivity matters and doesn't matter in certain positions at certain points. I do appreciate that in this particular context.
Okay. Cool. And then we go over to Walter Sobchak 1000. Shout out. Well done on the 1K. We haven't had a moment's drama with Terry or Jahan. Jaden doesn't need friends like Ayuk, who seems perfectly comfortable to jeopardize a rookie's career to get himself paid. It's selfish, unprofessional, and something Daniels needs to end now. Again, I think that's going to be a bridge too far. I don't think he needs to end the friendship with Ayuk. I think it's, once again, just a moment that caused a bit of a stir. You prefer it's not shared. It was shared on Brandon's side. I don't think he suddenly needs to end the friendship. You.
Yeah, lonely me to tell a grown man who it is he can and can't hang out with. The only part I'll keep going back to is that the only thing I look at is if this is your best friend and you have the dynamic of a best friend, there shouldn't be anyone more comfortable on the planet than you are of telling or checking, hey, don't do that.
No, that's an excellent point. I will also say that since Ayuk has done that, you have seen a couple different images pop up where people have edited it and said, oh, Brandon posted this and it's not true. And so now you're getting into a territory of did he not?
Right.
Because of what occurred. So that's another ramification we didn't necessarily discuss, is that some people could just edit images and say Brandon posted it. We go over to Tony. Shout out, Tony. Oh, gee. I remember there was a time I was afraid, and now enough people would follow the gospel and you two drop your channel before you blew up. Glad y'all hung in there, and congratulations. Oh, yeah, I love this second show in a week, guys, because last time you said I love the two shows a week. We're like, we're just doing the one. We just keep changing the day. Tony, this is a particularly special comment for me, and I'm sure for KDot as well, because Tony might have been, I can't recall who the very first commenter was, but Tony's been there since like subscriber 1. Might have been subscriber, might have beat me to subscribing to this, honestly. Tony, love you, man. Thanks for being with us this entire journey so far. And yeah, a second show in a week this time, but honestly could not, in my opinion, be here without you, man. It's always fun reading your comments, and yeah, thanks. Go ahead, KDot.
We're not fucking leaving. 1 million subscribers above, bitches. We're not fucking leaving. This is our home until those paychecks start coming in, and then might dip. We might dip. But
We'll take Tony with us.
Start coming in. We're here for the long haul, Betty.
Shout out, Tony. Oh, gee, really appreciate the comment there. Then we go to Big Papa Grizzly. Shout out. Please allow me to offer an alternative point of view on this BA nonsense. Please do.
Okay.
This is not a good look. I agree with both of you fine gentlemen on that point. Where I offer a difference of opinion is here. It's not as serious as you may think at first glance. The snapshot is of OTA practice footage. This is not offensive or defensive play scheming. This is barely scheme installing. This is really nothing more than an extended clip of what the team releases to the public. That is also assuming that he actually saw the video. All we are going off here is a still shot. It is possible that the photo was sent to him, or that he took it while the video was paused. Perhaps it was a very short section of film he was viewing with Jaden. So many variables to examine here. Having offered that to you, sirs, I will also say that JD5 needs to distance himself from BA before this gets to be a seriously detrimental situation. Keep up the awesome work, and congratulations on 1K. Thank you very much, Big Papa Grizzly. Really appreciate the comment there. Here. So, KDot, you had conversations. I also had time to think about it. I agree in totality with the first part of that, right? Where he says it's not really revealing too much schematically. It really is just a vanilla install, and it could just be a screenshot. And even if he did see it, ultimately, what's the big deal? Of course, I have a bigger issue with him posting it. I didn't like that look, but like I'm seeing it, I agree. And where I will disagree for the second time is that I don't think he needs to distance himself from him, but he needs to have maybe the adult conversation like KDot's been talking about. That's your best friend. Be able to push back, be able to say what the boundaries are in this kind of situation. So maybe distance himself in a certain respect, but you don't need to go overboard with that either. Go ahead, KDot.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, for the most part, I'm with you. I think the distance parts comes from having a conversation to distance yourself from these contract negotiations, whatever fucking bullshit is going on as far as that goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that he shouldn't be his friend. No, I'm not there.
Which, to be fair, Big Papa Grizzly has not said that.
No, he's not saying
himself.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where it's just like, dude, I also hate this because it feels very paternalistic, but it's like, you should know better. But I also know that you're trying to get your money out there and you're trying to use whatever leverage you can use. And this friendship thing, I guess, is leverage. But it's, yeah, if I'm just Jayden, it's just like, dude, I understand what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's starting to get a little messy. Just chill out.
But I don't even know that there was malicious intent on Brandon's part where he's like, oh, yeah, and sorry, Jayden, post. Like, I don't think there was anything like that either. I think it was just him expressing, I wish that had been thought of. But these are young guys we're talking about.
And I know you got to give people that. Brain doesn't fully develop until you're 26, especially if you're a fucking dude. But it's like, with great power comes great responsibility. Like, there is an aspect of, like, there shouldn't be shit that's an overthought. Like I want people to be more meticulous in their thought processes, especially this early on to a new gig or whatever. Like I always hated that. Like anytime that I was a boss or a manager in a managerial position, and you had somebody that would just be like, "Oh, I didn't know," and it's like,
but you should.
I don't because it feels as though you're already starting off with like a ask for forgiveness, not for permission sort of thing. It feels like you're trying to test boundaries, and it's like there's no reason to do that right now. There's just no reason.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I'll agree with that. We go over to HTTR Redskins with a couple comments over here. The first one, KDot, we're here. That's in quotes. I'm sure you remember that from the last episode where you're like, we're in this gray area and, I'm not sure that we're going to get there. We're here. We're here. So that's the reference on the very first one from HTTR Redskins. And then here's the second one. Jaden Daniels' mom is banned from ASU. Jaden Daniels has many priors. This is on you, KDot. This all falls on Harris for drafting him. There were already red flags. Top golf is nothing. ASU players were pissing on his locker. Draft day has nothing compared to this screwed up pick. To which someone replies, "You're probably the dude who wanted to draft Drake May." But that's the comment. KDot, your people are chiming in. Why don't you go ahead and react to that?
What's his name?
HTTR.
Fuck, bro.
No, but he comments a lot. To be fair. Shout out.
All right. Lead with love. HTTR, it's not your fault. 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 Now, you need some love and light in your life. So what I need you to do is I need you to like go outside, maybe lay in the grass, look up, not directly into the sun or anything, but like look up, because you enjoy life in the world. Find somebody to give you a hug. If I see you, I'll give you a hug, bud. Yeah, this is just all sorts of sickness is what I'm hearing. Now you could do what Amit is doing, which is like running back into the arms of a toxic relationship, which is what he's doing with that Panthers pick. Or you can be so fucking broken that nothing will ever feel good again. And I don't want that life for you, man. First off, change the fucking username. Let it go. Like that lesbian ice princess in that Disney movie. Just let it go.
Lesbian ice princess. Again, I think you know my thoughts on it. I think probably a bit of an over the top take there. I think the pick is fine. But again, it's teachable moment. That's all I'll say. We got a lot to do.
Drake made that big dummy. They should have never picked him. JJ, who the fuck's name is JJ? That was doomed from the start. I don't know what.
I can't wait to see the revisionist takes in a year from just about everybody. Now we can't afford to have that because we've got video evidence of us going, here's what we thought, right? But for everybody else, it's like, oh, I always said Jaden was unbelievable, or I always said JJ McCarthy was right there too. What were you doing? Like, I can't wait for that. That's the next phase that's coming up. Let's go over to Just Be 327. Shout out. Congratulations on 1,000 followers. Keep up the good work. Love your show. Been following since you had 400. Shout out Just Be 327 for being one of the early adopters in this community and family that is District Divided. And Just Be has been commenting for quite some time. So love you, bud. Thoroughly appreciate you. KDot.
Yeah, no, that's dope. Thank you for being a part. I mean, if you're here in that first 1,000, when we're going to 1,000,000, then yeah, you're our day ones, man. You're our day ones.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We go over to James ABC 372. JD needs to get away with his so-called girlfriend on a cruise ship somewhere and don't converse with Ayuk for a while. He needs to put his teammates first right now. KDot.
A little too far.
Okay, cool. I agree. We go over to Zulu Tribe 36. Preach it, brother. That's the first one. Lots of exclamation points on it. Your take is why I'm subscribing with about 20 hearts over there. So, hey, you earned us a subscriber there. KDot.
I hope I don't lose him. It's like double back on my take.
What a fun comment mailbag today. Let's go over to Saint Y. I believe his house. By the way, I believe he's on Trap or Dive.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Okay.
shout out, and great job on the podcast. They've gotten a lot of high profile guests.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Louis Riddick, RG3? I'm sure like those are the first two that come to mind
it.
for me, but they are absolutely killing it. So keep up the good work. To which Saint-Wa writes, PTSD is the issue with Washington fans. Nothing malicious has happened on either party's side. Jaden wants his boy on his team, and the team has a need. Why does Jaden need to distance himself for the benefit of scared-ass fans thinking of RG3 and Haskins? Is the comment from Saint-Wa. KDot, your reaction?
Yeah, but that's one thing I've never truly liked was like the RG3 or Dwayne Haskins comparisons. I just think it's lazy. Also, the distancing himself. I get it. The PTSD. I know that it comes out in all of us in certain forms, right?
Yeah.
Ad nauseum. This entire episode's been a showcase for that on Amit's part. But then on even my end, like you'll see that sometimes something will happen. Be it last week's episode where maybe I'm reacting, maybe even a little too harshly on certain people, just because there's a want desire to put the bullshit in the past and to move on and do something right. I think that fairly objective, once again, going back to that word when it comes to this particular team, because I think when it comes to this, in certain aspects, I don't look for objectivity. I look for fandom. I look for love. I look for those things when it comes. But then if you're doing a podcast on this team weekly or sometimes bi-weekly,
Shout out
Tony. And especially these lull periods, whatever, what you don't necessarily want is for things to happen and then you use that baggage to go too over the top on something.
Yeah.
I felt as though I tried to do a really good job last episode of managing that, of trying to preface most things or whatever. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that comment necessarily describes what we did on this.
No. I don't think so. I think that's more a commentary on what they're probably seeing. So, okay, look, if you're, yeah, exactly. So if you're in the podcast space, a lot of people are much more on Twitter, etc., than you and I are, let's say, right? So like they're seeing all this, and then, this episode drops, we're having a conversation around it, and they go, you know what? Enough's enough. I'm going to comment, and this is what I feel. And it's
right.
Probably more of a projection on a lot of the fans going, oh my God, we made the wrong pick. Look at this. Already a problem. Here we go again. That's the PTSD that I'm sure is being referred to here. Not necessarily what you said or what I said, but just a general commentary on the fan base, right? Because this is one of the latest comments. And if you read some of the prior ones, which I'm guessing he did,
right,
then you go, okay, what the fuck, guys? Like, so that's probably where that's coming from, in my opinion, KDot.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. And I appreciate the comment there. I do agree that there is PTSD and it comes out in various forms. Again, like KDot said, I agree. Some in this episode for me and some in that previous episode for him. We go over to Mr. Mojo Ryzen 921. Shout out. Already tired of the JD and BA bromance. Focus on your craft and your team. I will say at the same time, it is a bit of an exhausting story, right? Like having things come out with a fairly regular frequency is a bit annoying. I want to be able to be like, hey, this play was made in training camp. This is exciting. This is what we heard our offensive coordinator say, our defensive coordinator say. Dead period, things happen and things get blown up. Some appropriately, some not appropriately, but we're almost there, guys. That's what I'd say. KDot, go ahead.
And that was something that I was trying to come to terms with after this last episode was that how much of this is actually a story compared to how much of this is because it's a dead period and there's been no news that comes out of Ashburn, right?
It's
so like
both, to be honest.
It might be. I'm trying to figure out exactly where that line is. But yeah, that's the thing is like we're dealing with an off season here, which might be it's so strange that you can have more action this off season than we have ever seen as Commanders fans. And at the same time, it be the most, to a certain degree, most boring as far from a news story standpoint.
Yes.
It's never happened out of this franchise, right? So, like, it's weird. It's fucking strange.
Well, not only is it weird, this is also probably the first time, at least I can remember in my fandom, that somebody, and it's different with the conditions now, with the internet, social media, etc., and how quickly things can get from person to person. The first time I've ever seen someone use Commanders related stuff to leverage a contract, whether at their own place or to come here. Right. So like that is the issue this year versus many years past, or not even that many years past, we're talking about Washington Post articles. We're talking about illegitimate firings. We're talking about all sorts of random crap. This is the story. Someone maybe wants to come here that's a legitimately good football player. That's the story. It's different.
I will say that there were a lot of people that used to leverages in a lot of the contract negotiations and everything because Snyder was so.
But that's because we would fall for it. This is a different,
yeah. No,
there's a relationship between.
That's the thing. The Ayuk thing doesn't feel what it usually was coaches and players used to be linked to us, especially early in free agency, early in that new coach period, because everyone knew Dan Snyder was a fucking psychopath and he was going to spend money to spend money. Yeah. So you could leverage that to potentially get more money from some. Drew Rosenhaus used to use this for that all the fucking time.
All the time.
But the idea is that even the Ayuk thing, it feels as though he just wants to be here. He wants to be here with his friend, and he wants to be here because he believes in what it is that's happening here. Like it's exciting for him. So yeah, that's definitely a difference.
Yeah. And where I currently stand on Ayuk is I think he wants first and foremost to be in San Francisco. I know a lot of people have said he posted that he wants to be here. I think he's open to being here, and I think he would be excited about being here. But I think first and foremost, he wants to stay where he's been developed, where they have Super Bowl aspirations year in, year out. I think that's what he wants. But I think he would be excited to come here if a trade did come through.
I think more than that, San Francisco wants.
Yeah, exactly. So, and again, we went through their cap situation. It's a very intriguing spot that they're in right now. We go over to Bishop Don John 1464. Shout out. Keep up the hard work, fellas. Your channel is a diamond in the rough. Glad to see this young bud of a channel continue to blossom. Shout out Bishop Don John for that comment. Greatly appreciate it. Who also comments quite regularly. We have quite the community here that just regularly comments on videos. They're just, I don't know about, for you guys listening to it, but like for me, I have a visual. I'm like, oh, okay, it's Bishop Don John. Oh, it's Tony. Oh, it's New G, Allison Lombard. We've got Just B. We've got all these different people. And I'm like, cool. We're hearing from the regulars. It's nice. Just Anton. I love it.
Feels like community.
Right. Exactly. Now we go over to the prior episode, which was how much faith do we have in the Washington Commanders? As a reminder, you have 100 faith chips that you're allowed to distribute to various position groups. And the exercise was, well, how many do you distribute? So that was the question. Here are some of the answers and comments to that video, beginning with New G, Allison Lombard, echoing one of the previous ones. Great content, guys. I love how objective KDot is. I'm the same way. You got a hell of a fan here, KDot. Okay, so that's Allison Lombard, New G, with 5 more comments coming, just to be clear. Okay, so here's another one. What KDot is talking about is recalibration. It's remeasurement. You should always measure before you build, and that might only lead to 5 wins. I guess my question is, are you okay with that? Dallas will have a down year, and New York is New York. If you want to fight for second place in the NFC East, you won't do so with this roster. Before I continue with the next comments, KDot, what do you make of that one?
Yeah, that's not my goal. It's always been more of a long-term thing, and I don't want to make a short run for second place even on a down year, because I do think that what matters most is the longevity. I want to always be in the conversation. And I think doing that requires evaluating what it is we have now without spending too much on something that we might not necessarily need.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And for those that are newer to the channel, or maybe just don't recall the take, when KDot and I were talking about the front office, about the coaching staff, he would consistently name the Steelers, the Ravens, teams like that are always in it. And then you make the playoffs and you could go. And he's not referring to the 7-seed Steelers that, are miles away. He's referring to just the overall, if you look beyond just the 7-seed, which is currently what's going on, but like beyond that, that is a model of excellence.
No, I'd include them.
You'd include the 7?
Look at what they've had at quarterback the last few years.
Which makes them an intriguing. Now, they were, I think, 8 wins last year? No, 9 wins, because what's his name?
Yeah.
Tomlin never has a losing season.
He doesn't do that. But that's the thing, is the idea of if they find that quarterback to put in what it is they're doing in Pittsburgh, they're not in the fucking dance again. What are we doing?
No, totally fair take. That defense is consistently excellent. If they can find that quarterback, here we are. Now, it's the hardest thing to do. right?
Absolutely.
Like there are a lot of franchises, but they've taken a couple swings with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields here. So we'll see what happens there. Going back to Allison Lombard, here is how she distributes her chips. Okay. So she goes, mine might be different. At quarterback, referencing Jaden Daniels, 7 chips. Okay. Running back, Brian Robinson, 8 chips. Wide receiver, Terry McLaurin, 8 chips. EE, 2 additional chips. That's everyone else. She explains in a different comment coming up. Tight end, Ertz and the Senator, 3 chips. Offensive tackle, Cornelius Lucas, 7. Everybody else, 2. Interior offensive line, that's going to be Allegretti, Biadish, Cosme, 7 chips. At edge, you got Jamin Davis, Frankie Louvu, 8 chips. Everybody else gets 2. Interior defensive line, that's Allen and Payne, 9 chips. Inside linebacker, Wagner and Chin, 8 chips. Corner, yep. BSJ, Forbes, I had the same reaction. BSJ, Forbes, and Sanders still, that's going to be 4 chips. And safety, Quan and Defoe, 8 chips. That's going to be 76 out of 100. So it doesn't actually distribute the full 100 chips. Okay. So I believe one of these comments has it. Sorry, Allison, I'm trying to organize this appropriately, doing my best here. But anyway, EE equals everybody else. Back in my scouting days, I had 3 grades: blue chip, red chip, and white chip. Blue chip is obvious. Red chip is a guy who is excellent at one thing and comparatively sucks at everything else. White chips are Jags, just a guy. Why not extend your chips analogy? I don't believe in Cliff or Bobby Johnson, and I think most of your roster is red chip and white chip guys. Okay, so that's just a guy or someone that's excellent at just one thing. Witt Jr. is talking about running a very multiple defense. I have you guys in C tier because I don't see your red chip defense being super successful in a super multiple defense. Get up. My throat is quite dry. Why don't you go ahead and talk for a bit? I need to cough.
Well, for the first time forever, I actually pulled up the comment myself because I wanted to see the chip layout.
That's great.
Yeah. I disagree with a lot of that. But I will say what is an interesting thought exercise, which I should have thought about. I don't know if your thought process was there.
Not actually.
I love the idea of not doing on, doing the 100. Like I was like, that was a much more creative way.
I thought that was
doing
cool.
It. Yeah. Now it's got me looking back at my chips and being like, if I could have reevaluated to give them less than 100 chips, absolutely would have. But yeah, we wanted to spend all the chips, and we were really doing some arithmetic before the pod, trying to get those 100 chips correct.
Oh yeah, here's Allison again, by the way. So speaking on that a little bit, speaking of extending the chips analogy, perhaps too far, it might be worth examining how all in Adam Peters is for winning the season. Jerry is a joke and the Cowboys suck, but what if Adam Peters only put 76 chips into play? So sort of beginning to discuss what you're beginning to get on there, KDot, and where my mind went as well, seeing the 76. Is that true? Why? What's the pro con on that? Why don't you go ahead and continue, KDot?
Yeah, I think that's also interesting. But I also look at it in the sense of I wouldn't ask that question about Dan Quinn. I'd ask that question about Adam Peters. Because I think Dan Quinn is going to try to win as many games as humanly possible every season, a game in and game out. I think there might be a situation where Dan Quinn's position on whether or not they should make a move for Brandon Ayuk might be very different than what Adam Peters' decision process is as far as them making a move for a guy like Brandon Ayuk.
Yeah.
It's Peters supposed to have more of the big picture look as far as what's happening with the team going forward. So for that, I'd actually say that I think there's a good chance he does not have 100 chips in for this particular season. If I'm Adam Peters, looking at the moves that he made. Yeah. But I don't think there's ever a situation where the coaching staff is not completely all in.
Yes, I agree with that separation of the two entities there. So GM does not necessarily have to be 100% all in. He's got cap space to think about for future years and making sure that there is flexibility to be able to do stuff. As of right now, we have that. So Adam Peters probably quite pleased, right? It's recognizing that this is a recalibration year. That's what they've said, not rebuilding. Recalibration is the term that they have used. So what does that mean? To me, that means that Dan Quinn is all in, right? And coaches always will be, right? Because they are judged by wins and losses, not necessarily trajectories. That's more a general manager thing. So Dan Quinn is going to want to win as much as possible. If we're talking about the Brandon Ayuk thing, I think a coach's probably general disposition is get the best talent in the building. I can make it work. And a general manager will go, appreciate that, bud. However, these are some of the things that we're looking at. I'd like to see what the identity looks like first. Then we can have this discussion and see if this type of player fits in to what you want over there. A few more comments from Allison Lombard and UG. Bobby Johnson, offensive line coach, is ass at cohesion. So not a big fan of Bobby Johnson is Allison New G Lombard. And let me read one more and then KDot, your reaction to those. Okay. Initially, your offensive defense will be all smoke and mirrors, and you will have an advantage for the first 4 weeks until the bye. By week 6, advanced scouts like me will pick apart each of your traits and tendencies, and you won't have anywhere to hide. KDot, your reaction.
So very humble.
Indeed.
I think
Philly
especially
fan, though, they're all humble. Yeah.
Yeah. Allison, do you like cheese whiz on a cheesesteak? That's a huge question I have for you. Just to
Probably
just
if you're a scout, that's probably what you're having.
It's not a good look. The I think especially offensively, the smoke and mirrors, that's something that I've been talking about from the get-go. I mean, even before pre-draft, in the sense of Jaden Daniels' ability on the road or on the ground. Yeah, I think that this offense could hit the ground running because nobody has fucking any idea what was happening. And the amount of guys that I think have versatility in the Swiss Army knife of it all, there is position of that. And I'm hoping that they can adjust on the fly and learn that way. I think the defense will have certain aspects of that, but I think the defense is just mainly going to be about like energy level and performance more than anything. I don't think there's a whole lot of smoke and mirrors they're going to get. Once again, that's just depending on how it is the secondary kind of comes together. I don't think the secondary is quite there yet.
I'm going to save my voice for the other comments. So we have one final one from Allison UG Lombard. I have close personal friends who are Philly content creators and their AV is ass. I watch your show because it's a good show. Appreciate that comment from Allison. And now we move on to HTTR Redskins. Shout out. Amit, you aren't missing anything. I lived 50 plus years as an American and just recently broke down and watched the Warriors. It's as cheesy as I thought 40 years ago. KDot, you had a visible reaction to that. And I like HTTR Redskins for telling me that I'm not missing out on anything. So go ahead. What do you say?
Lead with love. Lead with love. Lead with love. You need a fucking hug. You just need a fucking hug, HTTR.
I like them.
Yeah!
There's one more. Do you want it?
What?
There's one more comment from HTTR Redskins.
Leading with love. Yeah, bring it on.
Commanders are terrible and could have traded out from number 2 and started a true rebuild. Jaden Daniels is simply not that great. In fact, the best QBs in history would struggle with this roster. That said, you have an older rookie who has average arm talent, and we expect miracles. His LSU highlights are all debatable. He'll throw a touchdown to his wide open wide receiver, and that's underthrown. He'll run for 30 plus, but leave his receivers high and dry. It's all fugazi. KDot, has your stance changed?
On what?
If he needs a hug or not.
All right, I'll do it. Fucking hell. For
the record, I just enjoy
how
how irritated KDot is right now. Go ahead.
I'm not.
I'm proud of you simultaneously, just to be clear.
Look, I come from a position of never feeding trolls on the internet. I'm not saying that's what you are, HTTR Redskins. I'm not going there. I'm not going to label you like that. But I will ask you to do this in our next comment mailbag. Please, this is me reaching out to you. I want to give you your own portion of the comment mailbag next week or next episode. I need to know, what would you have done this offseason that would have made you feel a lot better about about this particular team going into next season? If you were in control, that ownership thing that we did a couple episodes ago, what would you have done that would make you feel better about this team? And then please give me 3 movies that you absolutely love. List the 3 movies. I think that if you can answer that, and you answer that from the heart, we'll know whether or not you need a hug or a fucking slap. Or more hugs. We'll know how many hugs you need.
So to recap, HTTR Redskins, you got the following. You got homework from District Divided over here. What would you have done this offseason? That stems from free agency and the draft. What would you have done with pick 2? So it sounds like you maybe wanted to trade out. Or maybe you liked a different quarterback. Even the coaches, stuff like that. I would love to hear that. Then we've got KDot. What was the other bit?
3 movies you love.
3 movies. And I would love to know your side piece team. Are you with me on the Carolina Panthers? Are we doing this, buddy? Let's find out. So please answer that as well. Okay. Appreciate the comments as always. HGTR Redskins. We go over to Vindo. Oh man, Vindo. OG. Been a while, I feels like. QB 6, running back 7, tight end 7.5, wide receiver 8.5, offensive tackle 4, interior offensive line 6, defensive line 10, edge 6, corners 4, strong safety 7, linebacker 7. 73 out of 100. Not bad, but I believe QB and corner could raise us to an 80 by the end of the season. As I'm thinking more about it, KDot, because these are faith chips and not necessarily what chips we feel Adam Peters played, I think 100 actually does make sense because it is our faith that we're distributing. And then I guess the question is, do you have 100% faith?
That's where I think it gets interesting.
Okay, that's where it gets interesting.
Part, yeah.
But 73 out of 100 for Vindo. What do you make of those rankings? Happy to read them again if you need me to. I had some Gatorade.
I remember. But I was pulling up some of the comments to look at them. That's the thing. I get it. I think that now I'm like re-looking because I'm even looking over my own faith chips in the sense of like I'm reevaluating on my own, and I do think that there are certain things that I absolutely would change. Like, there's no chance I feel just as strong about like strong safety as I do at linebacker.
Sure.
But I would say that if I could do this exercise again, I wouldn't have 100 faith chips.
Okay. And we could also, maybe even do this exercise after preseason wraps up and we have that sort of 1 week period where we go, okay, now we've seen some stuff. Let's reassess. Let's go ahead and do it because it seems to have been a hit. We had a few different people go, yeah, no, I'll give you mine. Let's go over to Tone. Shout out Tone. Oh, gee. Also, so happy to see you guys reach 1K. Hopefully you're there next week. And indeed, we were, Tony. And once again, you're an OG. Thoroughly appreciate the support all this time and all the comments as well. KDot, quick reaction to that before we move on to Blood Clot.
Love it. Much appreciated, bud.
And we move on to Blood Clot. The only reason I would want the name The Warriors is for the fans to yell, Warriors, come out to play, while clinking 3 bottles on their fingers, or at least inflatable bottles, so there's not broken glass everywhere. KDot, you can explain that reference to Amit another time, but in the end, I'm still a fan of the name Sentinels. Now, is that a replacements reference?
Might be.
I think it is. I got a movie reference.
I would agree with if the Sentinels wasn't used by the movie, I'd feel better about it.
Okay, that's fair. And also Blood Clot, OG, member of the fam. Love it. Appreciate it. I feel like it's been a while with Blood Clot as well. So like Vindo and Blood Clot. Hey guys, come on, keep it coming, baby. Please do. We go to Zulu Tribe 36, who is one of the new subscribers because loved your take there, KDot, in the last episode. The Gramercy riffs, which of course means nothing to me, being totally honest. So, KDot, can you explain that, please?
Riffs, show enough.
Thank you for the explanation.
All of the Warriors.
Okay, it's a Warriors thing. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, the riffs are so cool. I'm watching the Warriors this afternoon, motherfuckers. I was going to go to the movie theater. I ain't going. Fuck that rom-com. Warriors time!
We go over to Ridge, where your helmet at. Lines with A-Train for 1K. And we got a snowflake emoji and a emoji as well. Shout out Ridge, where your helmet at. And shout out his dad for throwing on a hell of a 4th of July barbecue, by the way. I had an absolutely awesome time. And he's also one of the OGs. I think I remember telling him that I was going to start District Divided. He's like, fucking go for it, dude. Just have a great time with it. And here we are. So lines with the hate trade for 1K.
Cheeseburgers, Cokes, and Co-eds. Great time.
I think he'd enjoy those as well. We conclude with my generic Namo, also known as former co-host of the show, Matthew Regan, Detroit Lions fan, Michigan football fan. Congrats on the 1K. A true underdog story that proves you can make it even if you have a dog shit co-host like KDot is the comment, which got a like as well from Richburger Helmet out. We were all out when I showed them that we made it to 1,000. I burst out laughing when I read that. It was so well written.
What I see that threw me off. That was usually a clever. That was just fucking mean. That was just it was just I'm gonna be mean now. Motherfucker. What I'd like to know is I'd like to see I can't even speak straight. Fuck you.
I mean, it's a brilliant comment. It's a brilliant
man.
because I remember reading it and like he starts with the congratulations, true underdog story. Yeah, and then just eviscerates you.
I'm over here in a good mood thinking it's gonna be like a jokey thing with a dog. Fuck you. It's just a dick.
Incredible. Now, of course, the rest of the District Divided family disagrees with my generic. It's just such a funny comment. I thought it was hilarious. That was the show. That was the comment.
Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead.
I never look at the comments. But I pulled it up because I was looking at the thing, but I pulled up the other video by accident.
Uh-huh.
Jess Santo has a comment. I don't know if you can see it, but he has a comment.
On which one?
On the new video.
The newest one?
On the newest one, and it's in response to the last two. If you want to take a break, I can read Jess Santo's comments as I have it queued up.
You know what? Fuck it. Let's do it. Go ahead.
All right. In response to the last two videos, me and my buddy were at a job at a hospital. You couldn't smoke near the building, so we had to walk around the corner to have a cigarette. As we were smoking, a guy walked past us, stopped and said, "You know those things will kill you, right?" I replied, "Both of my grandmas have lived to be in their 90s. He asked, do they smoke cigarettes?" I answered, "No, but they do mind their own fucking business." Second video. I'm tired of the Ayuk bullshit. I'm under the assumption that Ayuk was in Daniel's corner when he first got to Arizona. Daniels is younger and feels as though he owes Big Bro. Ayuk is using him like a tool and is manipulating him. Brian Mitchell said a lot of players talk shop with friends on other teams. I assume the picture of the iPad was taken during their time when they were hanging out around the Pivot podcast interview. I want to know if the photo was taken with Jaden's consent or not. That's the real question. Regardless, Ayuk is not a commander. Commanders handle contract negotiations like men, such as Allen, Payne, and McLaurin. Ayuk can take his weird ass to Pittsburgh where mentally unstable wideouts thrive. And then there's the share this shit in emoji form.
Oh,
Jess
love
Santo.
that. Shout out Jess Santo with an absolutely fabulous comment to conclude the comment mailbag. First off, I got to say, listening to the comment mailbag without knowing what's coming is awesome.
It's a treat.
Oh my gosh. I absolutely love it. I was like, what's he going to say next? That was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. I guess I get to react to that. The grandmother comment or grandparent comment was hysterical. No, but they do mind their own fucking business. Love the mentally unstable wide receiver going to Pittsburgh, which I thought was incredible. And yeah, I mean, in terms of the contract negotiations for Terry was the longest one, I feel like. And then Allen and Payne, those were pretty painless. Like, I mean, those happened pretty quickly. Those happened at market value, or we even beat the market at times.
Yep.
That's actually a testament to the previous crew because they're the ones that did that. But I have full faith in Adam Peters to be able to do the same stuff over here. So love the comment, Jess. Appreciate it. Love. Hey, KDot, thanks for reading that. That was a fucking blast.
No, right. I just kind of stumbled upon it.
No, I'm glad. I'm more upset it didn't just show up on my phone. Did it literally just come in like a few minutes ago or something? Or did I just straight up miss it? Like
18 hours ago.
The fuck? We'll work on that. I'll figure that one out. Jess, my apologies for not seeing that. But KDot, thank you for seeing it. And thank you for reading it. That was the show. This was District Divided, a DC sports podcast, more specifically a Washington Commanders podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. I am Amit. That is KDot. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, comment as you always do. Tell us what your side piece team is. And KDot.
Share. this shit. Do what you're supposed to do. You know it. We all know it. Let's do it.
We all know it. Share this shit. KDot, this is going to be news to you. We have blown past my hard stop, so there will be no after the pod today, unfortunately. But we'll definitely have one. We'll definitely have one next week. But thank you guys so much for listening, and we will see you guys next week, Friday, 2 p.m., unless something comes up, in which case we'll see you sooner. So until then, take it easy.
Bye, everybody.
In DC, we're just hoping that you listen.